Good one, Blake. You're an asshole.
Jed Wallace is now saying he had life-threatening issues, a heart incident because of the stress of Blake Lively serving him paper.
Blake Lively just hit rock bottom in the courtroom circus by exposing Jed Wallace's private medical records for the world to see. If you ever needed a masterclass in desperation, this is it.
A hair care line needs to be protected, but Jed's medical information didn't. You can keep stressing him out on something that he's sworn through the court of law that he didn't do.
She actually thought it was clever to broadcast Wallace's confidential health struggles. Because nothing says, "I'm the victim here," like violating HIPAA protections and bragging that your opponent nearly had a heart attack from dealing with you. A flawless PR strategy, Blake. Truly award-winning.
He did something wrong, he should be held liable for it. But if he did nothing wrong, this is terrible for his mental health and physical health, really.
When backlash hit, Blake did what she always does. Pretended everything was fine and pushed her shampoo line like it was a life raft. Half-off sales plastered across Instagram as if glossy hair could distract from leaked court documents. Look, at my shine, forget my crimes. Classic Blake, delusion bottled and sold.
Allowed to sue and defend himself because I'm a victim, and he's now draining my bills and money and legal costs, and how dare he?
The timeline couldn't be more damning. In New York, the court respected Jed Wallace's privacy, properly redacting his health details. But in Texas, Queen Blake decided the rules didn't apply to her. Why safeguard a man's life-threatening condition when you can parade it around for clout?
Blake Lively just got roasted over the weekend by Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, all while demanding that the court protect her hair care brand.
Public records show the leak happened in March 2025, right when Blake's team was loudly preaching about protecting victims. Except apparently victims like Jed Wallace don't count if they stand in Blake's way.
Combing through the 800 pages of mess Blake Lively filed in Texas last night, it appears that Jed Wallace's health condition was outed. Now, Jed Wallace had the New York court rightfully redact his private health information.
And the public? They're not fooled. Blake's name is now knotted up in a perfect storm of hypocrisy, lawsuits, and desperation. She's scrambling to save her brand while tanking her own reputation every time she touches a court filing. It's self-destruction as performance art.
Mr. I Support Victims is trying to silence one, but the law won't let him. Well, here's what Blake Lively's team is declaring.
Now let's zoom in on her fatal error. This wasn't a slip. This was reckless exposure of Jed Wallace's cardiac health crisis in official Texas filings. Confidential medical records laid bare for anyone to see. HIPAA, privacy rights, common decency. Blake treated them like suggestions.
Many of you are so upset because it's maddening what she's resorting to.
Jed Wallace, the man Blake insists is some sinister puppet master, nearly lost his life to a severe heart incident. And guess what? Blake's legal theatrics were reportedly a major trigger, but compassion isn't on her resume. While Jed was fighting for his health, Blake was busy pouring fake empathy into overpriced shampoo bottles. Public outrage didn't just simmer, it erupted. People noticed she showed more care protecting her product labels than a man's actual life.
Jed Wallace had the New York court rightfully redact his private health information, but Blake Lively and her attorney said, nah, we don't really care.
The timeline makes it crystal clear. Blake's Texas filings exposed Jed's private medical struggles, dragging them into the spotlight for everyone to dissect. Why? Because she thought it might score her a cheap win in court. Instead, it painted her as the villain she's been so desperate to convince the world she isn't.
A sworn affidavit declaring, which as he does, who he is, where he's from Texas, and specifically gets into that he didn't do anything wrong.
But here's where it gets good, Jed Wallace's response. Unlike Blake, he handled himself with professionalism. He filed a sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury, dismantling every single outlandish claim she lobbed at him. In one filing, he managed to torch her entire narrative.
Apparently he has heart problems and there was some sort of cardiac event or cardiac health issue related to the stress surrounding this case. Good one, Blake.
Jed laid it out plain and simple. He has never met Blake Lively. Not once. No emails, no calls, no secret Reddit troll army whispering in the shadows. Nothing. Every spooky tale her team spins about him masterminding some grand sabotage campaign. Total fabrication.
This is Blake Lively's response to Jed Wallace's lawsuit. Now, some people go, oh, we don't care as much about Jed Wallace because he's not the famous person. We care about Justin Baldoni. But listen, he's got every much of a right to defend himself and fight for his, for his brand and for his reputation.
Jed Wallace wasn't hiring trolls, launching secret smear ops, or plotting the downfall of Blake Brown Beauty from some dark bunker. His role was simple: social media sentiment analysis. Translation: watching how people naturally reacted online. No bots, no armies, no shadowy meetings. Just quietly observing that, surprise, the public wasn't exactly in love with Blake's behavior.
In that order, and now this is confidential, Judge. This is the trade secrets we talked about previously. Give me a break. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's disgusting.
Then Jed dropped the line of the year. I have no knowledge of or desire to harm Miss Lively's reputation. Which is hilarious, considering Blake is doing a flawless job destroying it all by herself. Honestly, Jed deserves a thank you card for not piling on and making it worse.
He's already out there declaring confidential requests for anything representing her Blake Brown Beauty products. Protective order authorizes third parties such as Blake Brown instance to petition the court to protective order similar safeguards to the extent that
the timeline says it all. Jed's connection to Justin Baldoni's camp lasted a few months, August through November 2020. That's it. Not a decade-long plot, not some Hollywood Cold War, just a brief stint of passive observation. Yet Blake's imagination twisted it into a sprawling conspiracy theory. The mental gymnastics, Olympic level.
Using victims to try to get away with it, and then declare confidential declarants for my hair care line. Oh, but I suffered so much damage, so I want to talk about it, but we don't really get to talk about the details. And then completely throwing all these other people under the bus and not protecting their privacy. Make it make sense.
Jed's affidavit is the definition of professional. No hysteria, no victim theatrics, no shady leaking of private files. Just calm, clear facts that dismantle Blake's fantasy brick by brick. If she had even a flicker of self-awareness, she'd be mortified reading it.
Then as you open up this environment that you declare a safe space, as soon as he says things similar to what you do, USH'd me, and now you are trying to defend yourself, so how dare you to silence victims? It is truly, truly sickening.
But expecting shame from the same Blake Lively who thought leaking a man's medical records while hawking half-price shampoo was a good idea? Yeah, that's asking for a miracle.
Of law, I never published directly or indirectly any information or content, negative or otherwise, regarding Lively. I have never met or interacted with Lively. I do not have a digital army in Los Angeles, New York, or anywhere else. I do not have work with or direct team in Hawaii. I have understanding of what a social combat or social manipulation plan could be.
And here's the punchline. The louder Blake screams about being a victim, the more obvious her hypocrisy becomes. Protecting shampoo ingredients like they're the Coca-Cola recipe while casually exposing someone's health records. Playing. Broke from legal fees while flooding Instagram with discount codes. It's not strategy, it's desperation at its peak.
Jed Wallace has been, serious medical issues. Confidential medical information regarding the hospitalization he experienced due to health condition, which was worsened by the stress.
The best part? Jed Wallace stands calmly insisting, I didn't even touch you. Meanwhile, Blake is throwing legal tantrums, hawking conditioner, and leaking private files like it's a Black Friday clearance bin. If her goal was to prove herself cruel, careless, and self-obsessed, mission accomplished. And just when you thought she couldn't humiliate herself further, in walks Brian Friedman with a flamethrower.
Much more complicated than Blake wants to. She's trying to use this as sort of the, I'm going to stand up for all victims, so you're going to rule in my favor, and therefore all other victims will be protected. And that's what's trying to happen. But as Ron said, no, it's a much more complicated. You can watch his full response over there.
Justin Baldoni's lawyer torched Blake's entire case with one of the most savage legal clapbacks in recent memory. He accused her team of making inflammatory remarks to distract from the facts. Translation: when you've got no receipts, just scream louder.
Justin and his lawyer, Brian Friedman, are so hell-bent on destroying Blake, they're trying to shed a law meant to protect victims and send a chilling effect to others.
But Brian didn't stop there. He went straight for Blake's fake victim advocate routine, reminding the court that during her big film campaign, the moment she could have helped real people, she was too busy shoving shampoo and cocktails. down everyone's throats. Imagine crying about being a champion for survivors after months of subjecting the internet to ASMR shampoo ads no one asked for.
As was Brian Friedman, who responded very well, I have to add. This convoluted statement makes it abundantly clear that Miss Lively and team are rattled and once again resorting to making inflammatory remarks to steer focus away from the actual fact.
And then came the line destined for history books. She does not need discovery to find out who smeared her, just a mirror. Brutal. Accurate. Perfect. That one sentence annihilated what was left of Blake's victim act. Because the truth is simple. No conspiracy destroyed her. Blake burned herself down with arrogance, greed, and stupidity.
That's right. Justin Baldoni, the man who has built his brand on supposedly speaking up for victims, believes that the First Amendment rights of victims of SA and harassment to speak out should give way to the rights of perpetrators to sue their victims into oblivion.
Brian made it painfully clear Blake's sudden empathy for survivors didn't show up until her brand started circling the drain. Before that, just shampoo, cocktails, and endless red carpet photo ops. She managed to turn public sympathy into disgust at record speed. The media stopped pretending. Brian's takedown gave everyone permission to say what they were already thinking. Blake Lively cares more about her image than people.
Absurd to use that as a way to stand up for all victims. I'm sickened by the lengths she will go to.
And speaking of her image, let's talk shampoo. While sobbing about her ruined life, Blake also demanded special court protections for her Blake Brown beauty line. That's right, she wanted her hair care formulas treated like state secrets. Apparently, her ingredient list deserves more protection than an actual human's privacy.